Hi and go okay. Hello, folks. Look at that. I've got a mic working now. For some reason, OBS forgot what my mic was called. Anyway, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever it is, wherever you might happen to be. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about nerd news that's happened in the past week since our last show. And I am Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on the Twitters and a couple other places, mostly as a tech journalist. Joining me tonight to talk about all of this stuff is the fabulous Gandalf. I'm using that to the fabulous. Let's see, what else? Who else has floppy hats?
Pretty much every wizard ever.
That's true. The fabulous, pretty much every wizard ever. Lewis the Gray, introduce yourself.
AKA on Kel's stream, Adobo Daddy. That's what the streamers call me now. In the
Adobo Daddy?
Yeah, it's a running joke. I'll explain some other time, but it's great. But anyways, it's great to be back, guys. I always love being on the stream with Rodney and my other compatriots. We always have a great time. We're looking forward to having some conversation in the chat. If you guys want to chime in with us, for the deets, my name on Twitch, Crash a Stampede. Come check out some streams that I do there. I stream with some friends. I bull BS. It's a lot of fun if you want to chime in. But also, I'm a co-producer with Nerd Caliber. And Nerd Caliber is going to be, if I recall, at Boston Expo, right? Coming up.
Fan Expo Boston, yep.
Fan Expo, thank you. So look for us there if you guys want to come see us and some of us in person. Unfortunately, I won't be there because my boss is a slave driver. But regardless of which, I know Rodney will be there. So come check that out, and hopefully Kineticon as well if you guys are there. But as always, chime in the chat, guys. We watch it, we look at it, we love to reply to you. So keep that up with us.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, Nastya is apparently the only one we've got in chat at the moment, but I'm hoping to get a lot more people. I was solo last night with our No Nerd Caliber, and I had a bunch of people. It was a good time. But let's jump right into it, folks. Let's start with some really sad news. I'm sure everybody's seen this. The news is Ed Asner died this past week at the age of 91. None of the obituaries that I saw gave any particular reason other than age of 91. So I'm pretty sure that qualifies. That's enough.
Yeah, I think he just died of natural causes in his sleep or something like that.
Yeah.
So a good way to go.
It's a good way to go, and it's a hell of a long life. This is how I mostly remember Ed Asner. I'm old enough that I grew up watching him as Lou Grant on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and then his own Lou Grant spinoff. One of the funniest comic actors, the man who defined grumpy curmudgeon for so many people, for an entire generation, essentially. Sort of put me on the path of being a journalist, and then, luckily I didn't emulate everything about him, because he's kind of a jerk. A very funny jerk, with a heart of gold, blah, blah, blah. He is probably best known in the nerd community for, obviously, Carl Fredricksen from Up, the Pixar movie. Obviously right there, doing the voice of that. He has been doing voice work since the 90s. Like going all the way back to the Disney Gargoyles series, going all the way back to Freakazoid. He was, I didn't realize this went back this far. He was the voice of Granny Goodness.
Wow.
In,
Justice League.
The first one was, I think, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, the Superman Batman Apocalypse movie, Young Justice.
Yeah, he has a category. Who was he in Gargoyles? Luminous, you're in the chat tonight. Love to see you, my man. Who was he in Gargoyles?
So that I have, because I've got his IMDb. He was Hudson.
Really? Oh yeah, the voice. I can pick it up in my head now. Yeah.
Yep. It goes even further back than that. He was come on, what's the I always get the name wrong I keep saying Horace, and that's not it. He was the last name I know I get Greedley in Captain Planet. The pig guy.
I think it is. Is it? I think
It's like Hogrus or something.
Yeah.
So it's not quite Horace, but he was
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hogwarts Greedley.
Hogrus Greedley. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he was a regular character in both Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games.
Nice.
This guy's just been he had apparently had one bit line in or a character in the Men in Black, the TV series, the animated TV series.
Who was he in that? Because I love that show.
It doesn't give a name of the character. The episode was called the Neuralizer Syndrome.
I'd probably, if I saw a picture, I'd probably know.
This is perfect. So he has played, in addition, Medusa, welcome to the show, and Luminous, welcome to the show, even though Lewis has already said that. Medusa, nope. I love Black Canary so much. She's my favorite superhero for years. Hang around. We're going to be talking about it. There's some pretty interesting sort of behind-the-scene speculation that's going to be coming up. That's our last topic, though, so we'll be getting to that later. So he was Perry White in one of the Superman animated movies or series. And he was J. Jonah Jameson in the 94 through 98 Spider-Man the Animated Series.
The one I detested.
Yeah,
he's awesome. It was terrible, but he's awesome.
He is awesome. And where are we here? The 2003 really bizarrely animated CGI Spider-Man series. He played a regular character called Officer Barr.
Huh.
Yeah, so he's
okay.
Everything. And so I have just... It's got to be on my end, on my Zoom, Lewis, because you're locking up again, although your voice is fine. So I apparently did not figure it out now that I'm back at my own system here. So
that's all right. I look handsomely asleep from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, exactly. You've got that, pondering with your eyes closed. There's something important you're about to say. And he did voice work right up until, oh, by the way, this is his Granny Goodness from Superman Batman Apocalypse. He did voice work right up until, and this is so weird that this announcement happened just a couple of days before his death. The Disney Plus series Doug Days. A trailer was released for it. It's obviously a spin-off of Up. It's set to launch... Actually, I'm missing it. It's September 1st. The first one happens tomorrow. And it's basically the story of Doug now that after Up, and he is living with Carl as, Carl's friend, pet, whatever you want to call him. And this will be the last time you see or hear. Actually, no, he's actually got other things he's done that are in post-production. But, for a lot of us, this will be the last time we hear Ed Asner, certainly as Carl, because Carl is in this whole series because Doug is now living with Carl.
Yeah, shame.
Yeah.
But man, I just come back to him like 91, bro. Like, man, I'd love to make it to 91,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got no illusions that that's going to happen for me, but, it would be cool. So he has a TV movie called Scarlet coming up still. Something called The Last Saturday Night, a TV series that he plays a character in. A Fargo Christmas Story? Okay.
Yeah, Fargo, really?
Yeah.
All right, I dig it.
So yeah, hardest working man in show business kind of guy. And of course, Santa Claus in so many different things, not just Elf, but he's actually done the voice of Santa Claus in dozens of different cartoons. Which makes sense. if you listen to him. Yeah, Lumina says his career spans from Studio One in the 1950s to Cobra Kai. That's right, he played Sid Weisberg in the rebooted Cobra Kai, or the Cobra Kai series. Yeah, I'm going to scroll all the way back really quickly. The first thing I think I can remember him being in... Oh, I can't say that for sure. The first series I know I watched while it happened, and I probably saw him in, but I wouldn't remember because I would have been 6 at the time, was the Rat Patrol. If you guys don't know, it's a World War II series about, a particular one squad, a couple of jeeps patrol in North Africa, basically pestering the heck out of Field Marshal Rommel. And that's about as far back as I can. And then he's been in so many things that I watched the Fugitive series. He had a recurring character on that. The Girl from Uncle, Wild Wild West, The Invaders. He was a character in The Invaders. One of my favorite early science fiction, flying saucer aliens replacing people with essentially alien replicants of themselves. Yeah. R.I.P. Ed. Let's hope that the balloons carried you somewhere nice.
Rest in power, brother.
Rest in power. All right, our next story is a casting bit of news, and that is the upcoming season 3 of Batwoman will feature Poison Ivy as essentially the big antagonist, and they have cast Bridget Regan, who you see here on the screen, as Poison Ivy. Bridget Regan from Agent Carter, from White Collar, from The Last Ship, and I don't see it here, but this is from, I believe, Legend of the Seeker, which is probably maybe her biggest series. If you are into that sort of direct-to-syndication fantasy series, it ran, I'm going to say, mid-2000s?
Yeah. I have a lot of friends that loved it.
Yeah. It was one. I mean, I watched a few of the episodes, and it was okay. It never quite grabbed me. It was an interesting world concept. I'll give it that. But there's your Poison Ivy. It doesn't look like the description is going to be making any particular big changes. Former botany student of Gotham University, described as a passionate, brilliant scientist with a mind for changing the world for better, but her plan shifted when she was experimented on by a colleague, injected with various plant toxins, which turned her into the infamous villain Poison Ivy.
But damn, is she gorgeous? She looks so solid for that role. I want to see her in the costume, and obviously, I know I run in a lot of LGBTQA circles and all that, and I'll tell you, she got the upcheck on the lesbians.
Oh yeah, yep. And with the name, Bridget Regan, it's not true. That is one of the most Irish faces I've ever seen. Beautifully so, but that is so typically Irish looking. Imagine that in her in a red wig.
Yeah,
spot on.
I think I saw one photo with her having red hair too, and it was really solid looking. So
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing it, man. And Poison Ivy really doesn't get a lot of. I mean, ever since what is it, Batman and Robin?
Oh God,
Uma Thurman.
Yes. One of those things.
That was Jessica Rabbit if you wanted her as Poison Ivy, but.
Yep. Joel Schumacher can make some wonderful movies, and those weren't some of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the current season 2 is running right now. It debuted October 13. It features, of course, the new Batwoman. I haven't seen any of it, folks. I'm sorry. Just I'm kind of off the CW stuff right now. It's a little to me, it's kind of run its course.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree, man. Like, I keep like outside of Stargirl,
Yeah.
like I keep wanting to be like I keep trying to think of a good example here. It's like I'm gonna use a terrible analogy here. It's like your dad left you to get a pack of cigarettes and didn't come back for 10 years, but after those 10 years, he keeps making all these promises that he just doesn't keep, and you keep getting hopeful. Like, oh yeah, this is the time he's gonna keep his promise, and then he just lets you down, man.
Yeah, I've kind of given up being hopeful for any of these shows. And there are a lot of shows where I get to that point and it's like, okay, I've reached the equilibrium where it's good enough that I'm fine with the fact that it's never going to be as good as I want it to be. The problem is most of these CW shows, once they reach that equilibrium, they're not good enough. They're okay.
Yeah, they just start coming up with like the wackiest things. And like I remember somebody was showing me like a clip of like something with Flash and the Flash family fighting some like robot Flashes, and they were like Power Rangering it, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? What the hell is this? Like, it's a comic book. I get it. You can be goofy. I'm not gonna fault people for being goofy and coming up with goofy shit and trying to come up with goofy shit. But man, there's goofy and then there's just bad. There's like fruit punch, and then there's a little like punch cups that always tasted like celery when you were done with them. Like that's where CW's at. There's a little punch cup that tastes like celery at the end.
I don't want to know where you discovered those. Yeah, the Legends of Tomorrow leans so heavily into that weirdness that it works for them if you're into that kind of show. But when it does pop up, like you were saying, in things like The Flash, where you've also got he dealing with his dad in prison and his dead mom, and it's a drama, and then you've got King Shark.
All right, but come on, man. Let's not fault King Shark.
All
King
right,
Shark,
all right.
yeah, yeah. Let's kind of my man. He's cool as hell. Come on.
And I will give. Well, he's not portrayed in any way like he would be in the comics when he did his appearance in Flash.
That's fair. I mean, in Assault on Arkham, he looked more human than Shark.
Yeah. No, he looked. I'll give him this. This is one of the best CGs they've ever done. He looked like King Shark. It just there was no he wasn't a barely an intelligent being. So anyway, that's kind of off topic. Yeah, we got Bridget Regan has been cast as Poison Ivy in the upcoming season 3 of Batwoman. Good call on their part.
Yeah. Welcome, Mr. Cohen. Good to see you.
All right, now we're moving on to this week's What Did Blizzard Do segment.
Good day.
I kind of really didn't want to make this a weekly thing, but Jesus, come on, Blizzard.
It's news, man. We got to talk.
We got to talk about
news,
it.
right?
That is, of course, the gunslinger formerly known as McCree. And Blizzard put out this announcement that they were going to be changing the name of the character from Jesse McCree because he is named after, get this, one of the 2 people whose alleged infractions were so great that they were named in the California lawsuit against Activision Blizzard. And there has been a hue and cry that they really, really need to change this character's name. Jesse McCree, the real employee, who can be seen in at least one of the pictures taken in the finger quotes Cosby Suite at various conventions, quit at the beginning or earlier in August. Quit. And good. That's not going to stop him from being prosecuted, so also good. But Blizzard has just basically been dragging their heels while people have been saying, look, you've cut this guy. There's literally one of your most popular characters bears his name. But it won't happen or very soon it will not be a thing.
And Jesse McCree is not the first character either, because there's another character in WoW that bears his name to a degree.
Yeah, so let me see if I get it. It's the character And so is a reference to the character in WoW is a reference to Alex Afrasiabi, and so I think the character is Afrasiabi something
Right.
in WoW.
There's quite a few of them. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was also certainly well caught up in the whole thing. He was not. I don't believe he was not one of the ones that was named specifically. But yeah, come on, Blizzard. I
For reals too. Like, oh my god, like this is such a trial and tribulation with Blizzard here. It's like, hey guys, we listened to what you said. I'm gonna pretend to be a PR person for Blizzard right now for a second, so just bear with me. Thank you, everyone, for your voice and how you voice your concerns about the recent allegations against our company. We've decided to change one of our characters' names, who was the real name of one of the people who are being sued right now. Because you wanted that change, we're gonna do it for you. Also, don't pay attention to the people back here who are shredding documents and keeping that away. Don't. That's nothing. Just focus on we're getting rid of the name Creed.
Yeah, you know what? Now I think about it, I forgot to include that in here. Oh, by the way, the lawsuit got worse. They are being accused, Blizzard executives are being accused of destroying evidence. Wow.
Yeah, like it's like cool, man. Like whoever thought this PR move was a good one, you fucked it up, man. You fucked it up, and not only did you fuck it up, but the administrators fucked it up by deleting and destroying all that evidence and getting caught doing it. And let me be clear here, in case anybody's listening to me and thinking that I'm like pro Blizzard and like, oh man, they should just not have got caught. No, I want them to get caught. I want them to get caught. But also, don't talk about how you're trying to be inclusive and you're no longer going to name characters after real people who help create them, but also get caught doing dumb shit like that.
Yep.
Get your shit straight. Straighten your shit out.
Mr. Krakowian, welcome to the show. And so this should have happened probably weeks ago, and I guarantee that there was some disaster management firm, PR, Marcom agent, lawyer, all of the above, whispering in their ears saying, you can't make this change, you can't make this change. If you make this change, you are tantamount to admitting fault in this situation. And that's, I'm sure, the reason why it took so long to make this decision. I don't know that for sure. I have no insight, but I know how these kind of businesses work when they hit crises like this. And,
Yeah.
Luminous, in the past, the U.S. would not put a living person on a stamp for fear they become infamous. Yeah, I mean, that's,
I definitely can understand that. My thing, like, I agree partially with what you said, Luminous. Yeah, in the past, and I think companies shouldn't do that in their games going forward in terms of designers and people who are creating the object. But Blizzard has done some really cool shit over the years where like a player has passed away from cancer who was a dedicated player and they put them in there as an NPC, things like that. I'm fine, even if it's just a PR spin. I think that's good and wholesome, but don't put people's like designers and shit as characters in a game, especially because they can, in this instance and on many other instances, they can end up being pure assholes, and then you're just stuck with a pure asshole and his name just batted around everywhere.
So we don't know what the name is going to be yet. Apparently there was going to be a story arc that involved the former McCree. That's been pushed off until later on this year. So that kind of indicates that there isn't a whole lot of extra work that's going to need to be done even once they make the change. Like maybe the re-recording of, one or two, voice, pieces or something like that. But
what I would guess is it would probably be, because this is supposed to be a lore arc for him. It'd probably be if the character Ash is going to be involved, for example, or some of the other characters, they probably have to re-record saying his name.
Right. And I hope they give him, I don't know what name they could be, he's clearly a ripoff of Clint Eastwood's The Man with No Name. So, give him Clint or something. Just, not that Clint wants to be associated with this guy.
Clint sounds actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's not a bad name.
But anyway, so we'll continue. Unfortunately, we'll continue to pay attention to this because it continues. A, a company that is so stupid to allow this kind of environment to happen, despite multiple complaints, to the point where the state that they are based in actually has to come in and sue them. I'm not surprised that they're out there destroying evidence.
Yeah.
They aren't bright.
It's time to be accountable for your actions and stop with this boys club bullshit.
Yeah. And I would love it if boys club bullshit was no longer the term that would apply to this, but unfortunately it does, because this is like sexual harassment at a borderline assault level, according to many reports. And the fact that it's just so easy for us to call that the boys club tells us that that's boys behavior.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they like to use that terminology like that to infantize the what's happened. Oh, when you make the association with boy, you're thinking irresponsible, and you brush it off. Whereupon, if you address them as men, then they're adults and they're responsible, and that's kind of like a fucking shitty thing. And so I agree. The association shouldn't exist anymore. It needs to end.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. So, or as they use the frat boy environment. Like,
Yeah.
let's those are shitty people, but
show me some people like this that are actually being wholesome for once, as opposed to being fucking dickheads. Like, stop with the sexual harassment and getting your boys together and doing all that shit, and maybe get some good people in there that, if y'all gonna be a boys club or a frat or whatever, be a wholesome goddamn frat. Like, promote positivity and shit like that. Don't be assholes trying to get your dick wet. Like, I can't stand that mentality anymore.
Yep. And unfortunately, it is still absolutely rife within the gaming community. Again, just look at the latest game garbage, the whole Twitch hate raid thing. Just so much.
Whole nother.
Yeah.
I had to go into my settings to prepare for that, because there's a lot of other Twitch streamers are throwing out information on how to like potentially head it off.
Yeah.
Except for one guy who got hate raided, and then he just like screamed into his mic to have all his fans like reciprocated back to the hate raiders, and that was a ballsy move.
It was a ballsy move, but it's going to get him banned, not the hate raiders. Anyway, that's a different topic. Moving on to our next topic. So we have been talking a fair amount about the upcoming series Wednesday, the updated story of Wednesday Addams as a young adult, and Netflix dropped just a ton, well, not a ton, literally 10 new cast members. Not a lot of these are particularly familiar with me, but two of them stand out. Ricky Lindholm, the taller of the duo Garfunkel and Oates, but also a wonderful actress in her own right, fantastic in Knives Out. And the kind of disappeared for the last 15 years, Thora Birch, is going to be the dorm mother, of all things. The characters, Tamara Novak, dorm mother at this Nevermore Academy that Wednesday is going to, and Lindholm will play Dr. Valerie Kinbot, a therapist, who is obviously very fascinated by by Wednesday Addams.
Oh boy.
Ricky Lindholm is hilarious. I think that's a really smart call. Thora Birch is just such an enigmatic person at this point. And she is apparently doing a bang-up job as one of the whisperers on the current season, and I guess the upcoming season of Walking Dead. I haven't watched it in like 3 seasons, so...
Yeah, I stopped watching a long time ago.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's... this series is getting a little more interesting to me. Now... I was going to watch it anyway to give it at least a shot, but now, with, some of the new cast members, all right, maybe.
Yeah. I'll give the first and second episode. I usually give 3 episodes a try in every season, every show that comes out. Well, almost every show that comes out.
Yeah. I do that too. Depending on the show, sometimes if it's like an hour long, a 1 hour episode, I may not make it past episode 1 if it's really bad. But this news I am really excited for. Confirmation that there will be an Old Guard 2. Everybody coming back. And apparently one of the biggest things holding up was, finalizing the deal between these two, Charlize Theron and Kiki Lane. But Matthias Schoenaerts, Marwan Kanzari, Luca Marinelli, Veronica No, and Chiwetel Ejiofor are all returning. And they announced that there's a new director, Victoria Mahoney, who is probably best known as the second unit director for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, the second unit director basically just does what the director says, and okay, while I'm here in the desert, you're going to be off filming this stuff with this part of the cast in the studio that looks like spaceships. And so none of the, the horror that Rise of Skywalker truly is can be blamed on Mahoney. But also, apparently, everybody involved is really keen on this woman taking over, including the original director, who apparently can't be doing it because the Old Guard was so popular and it was one of her first works that, like, everybody's throwing scripts at her. So, good for her.
Yeah, I haven't seen the first movie, to be honest.
Oh, you would love it. You will absolutely love it.
It's on my list. It's one of those things where I'm just like, I keep looking at it and I'm like, man, you should watch this because everything about it looks great. Even the little trailer looks fantastic. And then my brain is like, Highlander. You binged way too much Highlander, buddy. You watched all the movies. You watched the Adrian Paul series. You watched the animated series. Do we really have it in us for another Highlander type movie?
I gotta say, I want to say it's not in any way, shape, or form reminiscent of Highlander, but it's pretty reminiscent of Highlander. Smarter, better, better cast, frankly. But yeah, there's some elements there. But there are aspects to these characters that you are just gonna love. So
I bet.
You should.
I mean, I love just about anything with Charlize Theron in it, especially when she's doing action.
Oh yeah. Oh, and she kicks ass. Yeah, I would. Do yourself a favor, get over that. Contrarian thing, and that I have in spades. Believe me. And take a shot at this. This I'm excited about because we'll get another thing that throws. Oh, Crash! Your video went out completely. Oh, there you are. You're back.
No, I'm fine. It's
Okay.
fine.
This is Nancy Drew and Tom Swift, and the news is that a Tom Swift series has been issued a straight to series order from the CW based on his one appearance in the Nancy Drew series. And this is coming up in the they say the 2021-2022 season, so it's going to debut sometime in the fall, apparently. It is a slightly modified take on the original Tom Swift books, but Tom Swift is still a young genius billionaire inventor. In this case, the character is black, played by Tian Richards, and gay, which I don't think was a thing in the books that came out in the 1960s. So it's been literally 50 years since I read a Tom Swift book, so I can't say with a lot of accuracy whether Tom was a gay character, but I'm gonna go with no. But I like the idea. Apparently, in addition to like week to week sort of sci-fi mystery, sort of things that it was the bread and butter of the Tom Swift books, there's going to be an overarching sort of Illuminati group coming after him because he is so smart and potentially dangerous to their nefarious plans
Yeah,
that weaves its way through the whole series.
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really have much commentary on it. This thing existed before my time.
Yeah, well before your time. And unlike Nancy Drew, which got rebooted and new works and games and movies and so on all the time since it was around back in that period, Tom Swift has just sort of sat on the shelves. There hasn't been any real new Tom Swift stuff since then.
Hmm. Fair, fair.
But they're good young, pretty young adult, not young adult. They're good kid reads. Which, say with a grain of salt, because again, it's been like 50 years since I've read one of these books. I don't know how well they're updated or how well you would read them in modern society. I'm sure there's a lot of, keep your opinion to yourself, Missy kind of stuff. Not from Tom, but certainly from some characters.
Yeah.
All right, now this one, this just kind of blows my mind, folks. And the interesting aspects, Luminous, gotta love the Illuminati. You gotta love them, or get killed by them. That is, of course, Grey Worm from Game of Thrones, actor Jacob Anderson. Jacob Anderson, pardon me, has been cast as Louis in the upcoming AMC series Interview with a Vampire. We talked a couple of weeks about Sam Reed being cast as Lestat. And he is pretty much a handsome boy. Jacob Anderson is, in case you can't tell by that, black. And I am really dying to find out how they deal with the fact that in the books, Louis in the 1790s is a plantation owner in Louisiana and therefore a slave owner.
So, from what friends have told me, and obviously I'm not 100% grain of salt thing, is the way they're reinterpreting it is that he is the owner of a brothel, not a plantation owner.
Okay. Yeah, that could be. If they are putting it in the same time frame, the beginning of his story as a vampire, then he's got to be some. Maybe he's a freedman. But I don't know enough about my Louisiana history or South history or anything from the late 1700s to know whether or not freedmen were allowed to have actual businesses and own things in Louisiana at the time.
Understandable, but my philosophy is very simple here. There's fucking vampires. We don't
Well,
need to
that's
go
true,
that deep. We don't need to go that deep.
That's true.
He can own a brothel as a black man in Louisiana because he's going to become a vampire. Unless vampires are historically accurate somehow, and I miss this, it don't need to be that deep.
But either way, if they don't take advantage of the fact that this character is a black man in late 18th century deep South, to explore some of that through the lens of how a vampire might treat that or whatever, but still to explore some of that, then boy, are they going to be missing out on a big opportunity.
I'm sure they'll dive into it a little bit. Being a brothel owner in Louisiana as a black man, I'm sure there's numerous firsthand accounts and things from like slave owners that treated black slaves in some okay manner, and same with freedmen. Freedmen got away with doing a few things. I'm sure they could figure out a way that this will work and still explore racism in that angle.
Yeah. I mean, even if he is a freedman and running his own business, there are I would say the vast majority of the white population of Louisiana at the time and probably today who would not tolerate that. So now it's certainly not in the 1950s. Although this is not set in the 1950s, of course. It takes place, if assuming it's going to follow the book, it takes place over the course of, a century, I think. But anyway, so we have our Lestat, we have our Louis, and I think these castings are pretty interesting. If you go back and look at our previous show where we talked about Sam Reed, or just look him up, he is known for doing period pieces. So he looks the part already. You just make him a little, sallow and, gaunt looking, and boom, he's Lestat.
Keep him out of the sunlight for a little bit. Good
Exactly.
to
go. Give him some white face. But yeah, so looks really interesting. I don't think this even starts filming until 2022. The series is slated to begin production. Begin production late this year, so it will premiere in 2022. At some point,
like half a year away.
Yep. All right, so I was originally going to do this story as kind of a joke. I mean, and again, I'm very glad that Letitia Wright is not seriously injured, or was not seriously injured. And this is the story about the accident that happened to her while she was in a stunt rig, filming Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And I was gonna do it as kind of a joke and saying, "Gee, does her pastor let her actually get shots now, or what's because I don't know if you remember all of that kerfuffle about yeah."
Yeah, I do.
I do. But then I found out that the accident happened here in Boston. And it turns out they are filming an awful lot of, or at least right now, on location in Boston, even though an awful lot of it is filmed out of the Pinewood Studios in Atlanta, which is where, Disney does almost all of its stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out the reason is that these scenes involved Dominique Thorne, Riri Williams, and so they were filmed at MIT. And I had no idea that Riri Williams was going to get her premiere, I think, in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, because I think her series, Ironheart, isn't going to happen until after this comes out.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And that's not a rumor. There are photos, or on-set photos taken by people from like far away with big lenses, of Thorne on the MIT campus as a student, talking to another actor playing a student. So yeah, it's that's why they were in Boston. And I really hope that if any of the people I know who are in the Boston production business were involved in this, I hope that they're fine afterwards, and that I'm sure they understand that accidents happen. But this is the kind of thing, if this was Tom Cruise, that might have been a career-ending accident for somebody on the staff. And I hope that's not the case. So, and of course, because July 8th, 2022 is when we're going to get to see Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. So definitely the Ironheart series is after that, for sure.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to all of that.
Me too. And I mean, I was looking forward to Wakanda Forever just if for no other reason, to find out how they're going to approach the whole loss of T'Challa.
Yeah.
But then also because it's another Black Panther movie, and it's done by Ryan Coogler again, and it's like, yeah. But now that I know that Riri Williams is going to be in it as a character as well, and now I'm just super stoked.
Yeah. And I hope in some small way she's a product of the ending of Black Panther when he's opening up schools and stuff like that and like centers. Like that would be
You know,
really freaking
I didn't
cool.
even think about that. That would be a really cool tie-in. It wouldn't be exactly in line with the comic book character, but then again, this is the
Yeah,
MCU.
yeah.
Why
MCU is
wouldn't you?
completely
Yeah,
different.
yeah. That's a good idea. Right, write to Coogler, write to Kevin Feige. Let Feige know what you thought.
I mean, if I did, I'd be like, Feige, by the way, can you guys put me in some stuff? I don't care. I don't care if I'm just a security guard that just waves when people walk by.
Yeah, it's like, come on, I'm right here in Springfield. How difficult is it to put me into something in Boston? Apparently, they were filming in Worcester too, according to again, some people who are connected to the.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd be like, come on, guys, it's Springfield, Western Mass. You want crime? I got crime. I'll show you crime.
You want something that looks like Oakland? Okay, I'll give you some.
Yeah. No, whoa, whoa, let's not go that far. We're not,
Okay.
we're not a fucking dive here.
Yeah, Oakland does not have the Basketball Hall of Fame. That is true. All right, this just came out of left field for me. I'd never even heard a rumor of this, but this is awesome. Deadline has this as an exclusive. Disney will be reviving The Rocketeer as a Disney Plus movie that will be titled The Return of the Rocketeer. The production company from David and his wife Jessica Oyelowo are producing it, and David Oyelowo might be starring in it, which would be awesome. The image, which I forgot to put up there, that is, of course, him as Martin Luther King Jr. in the many award-winning movie Selma. And he's done so many other things that I think are absolutely fantastic. So I like the idea of the casting. It's going to be written by Ed Reichort, who is a writer for Jessica Jones, wrote Now You See Me, and produced and wrote the Netflix series Raising Dion, also based on a comic book.
Which was really good.
I never made it past episode 3. And I think it was because it was too much build up for me before we started getting explanations.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I should go back and watch it because I liked it. I love the performances. It was just a little too slow of a start for me, I think. But so great concept, or great people, and the concept, which I didn't realize until somebody mentioned it to me earlier today. So this takes place after the events of the first movie, when Oyelowo, who is apparently a retired Tuskegee Airman, finds the jetpack and picks up the Rocketeer mantle. And I like this idea. So when I first heard the fact that it involved something to do with the Tuskegee Airmen, I was worried that it was going to be a dark, gritty take or serious downer kind of. But the fact that he's a retired Tuskegee Airman who picks up the mantle of the Rocketeer when he finds the jetpack, I like that idea, and I think that doesn't mean it necessarily has to be as dark. I want this to be a completely new story, but I want it to be tonally the kind of fun, big Hollywood glamour kind of movie that the first one was. Although my idea would be... Oh, go ahead.
No, I agree. I love I'm a huge fan of the original Rocketeer movie. Yeah. So like, I want to maintain that aesthetic. It's kind of how in a weird way, how I feel about like Indiana Jones movies. It's like that's why, as much as I'm okay with the most recent one, at the same time I'm like, you kind of moved out of that era that I really enjoyed.
Right.
And Rocketeer. Again, I'm kind of weird about finding the rocket, just like Cliff Secord did. But
well, again, that's my theory. They don't actually say that. They say he picks up the mantle of the Rocketeer. Maybe he invents one.
It'd be cool if, like, because at the end of the movie, Petey had made copies, had diagrammed a whole copy. Maybe he finds the plans and, as you say, makes one.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool too. So when I first heard about this, before I heard the Rocketeer or the Tuskegee Airmen thing, I thought the other thing that would be really cool if they weren't going to be doing the sort of Hollywood glamour, then have it set around the Harlem Renaissance, which the Harlem glamour that was every bit as glamorous as Hollywood was at the time, just with primarily black people and set in New York instead of out in L.A. That would be awesome. But
the only thing I would worry about that, man, is Harlem got some big buildings. California's a more open area to jetpack around.
Right, you're not gonna land in an Orange Grove, anywhere in New York, even in the 1930s.
Because I feel like him rocketing off and then he's just gonna hit a building and that's it. There's one good episode.
Yeah, that was it. Thanks. Bye. And this is just announced, so we have no idea when, but it is going to be a Disney Plus movie. And
it's definitely a movie, not a series, right? For some reason, I thought it was a series, but I could be wrong.
No, Disney Plus movie, according to this.
Okay.
Boy, if it was a series, that would be awesome. I don't know that I can see him tying himself down to a series, though.
If it was like a mini series, kind of like Watchmen.
That's true. That's true. And who knows? It's Disney money, so it's like, I'll not do movies for a year and a half if it's Disney money.
Honestly, like if Disney approached me and was like, we're going to give you money to do a series, I'd literally Scrooge McDuck that money. I'd just dive right into it because that's how I imagine Disney giving you money is a giant vault that you can just dive onto coins in.
Except Disney, give Alan Dean Foster his money. Give people who you have contracts that you purchased from other things the residuals and the money they deserve. Again, it's just, it blows my mind that you are withholding residuals from an author that wrote the adaptation of Empire Strikes Back because you acquired it when you acquired Fox, and you therefore it's not your contract. That's not how contracts work, Disney. I hope he is successful in suing your pants off. But that's a different subject altogether.
Yeah, that train just went off.
Yeah, sorry. I'm a huge fan of old school science fiction authors, and the fact that Disney's willing to screw these people over because it's maybe a few tens of thousands of dollars a year. That's really crappy. Anyway, moving on to our not crappy at all final story. Medusa Nope, here you go. Here it is. I have to say, now granted we didn't miss this last week because it did drop after last week's show, but I didn't see this until literally late last night. And had completely missed it. I thank God for Gail Simone making a tweet. There is going to be a Black Canary solo movie, a spin-off from the Birds of Prey character, that version of the character, starring Journey Smollett, Black Canary in that movie. That's going to be an HBO Max movie. And I am really excited about this, and this kind of blows my mind. This is going to be written by Misha Green, the writer and the creator of the series version of Lovecraft Country, who, right after HBO announced that there would not be a Lovecraft Country Season 2, announced that she was doing a massive first look deal with Apple. And now she's back making a movie for HBO Max. It's a little weird.
Rain for her. They're making it rain for her, unless it was a part of a contract before she inked that deal.
That may be the case. Either way, first off, the fact that Misha Green is involved makes me very happy. Lovecraft Country was wonderful. An amazing adaptation of a book that would be very difficult to turn into a series was turned into a really good series.
Agreed.
And the fact that she's writing this Black Canary, that Journey Smollett is back as Black Canary, and Journey Smollett was, of course, the co-lead in Lovecraft Country. I'm on board for this completely.
I hope they bring that Huntress in too, because I thought that Huntress was great. Like even as a co-companion to the story, like
Yeah,
she was adorable, man. I would love to see both of them together.
I mean, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is can almost do no wrong for me anyway. Um, even going all the way back to the superhero high school, the
Sky High.
Sky High. She was wonderful, absolutely fantastic. But then, of course, Ramona Flowers, just she's so good. But yeah, and I really liked her take on that. Not at all the smooth daughter of a mafia don. Helena Bertinelli, not even close. Version of that character.
Repressed
Yeah.
fighter.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I would love to see that. I kind of would like to make sure that this starts out though as her solo movie, rather than kind of a duo. If Huntress has a short piece or a cameo, or maybe even Harley, although I doubt that Margot Robbie is going to get a cameo in anything anymore.
No, she kind of mentioned about taking a step back from being Harley for a while, just cause.
Yeah, that makes sense. Pardon me. Lumina says, "Do you think it will have a connection to the Batgirl movie?" I don't think so, although we don't know a whole lot about that yet, other than they've cast Batgirl.
Yeah, and I think they're taking inspiration from Batgirl of Burnside, so
it seems to be.
A chance.
Yeah. But they mentioned this here that both Batgirl and the upcoming Blue Beetle movie, which we also talked about last week as far as casting, or 2 weeks ago, are all going to be premiering as movies on HBO Max. So maybe, although Warner Brothers, as far as I know, is sticking to its guns that all DC related properties are going to be tangentially connected. That they would rather have individual creator stories told than an MCU.
I mean, I think that works best for them, but they can have some connections here and there. Characters cross over. It's not unheard of with like other things. So
yeah, and so clearly, Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad, and now because you're using the same actress, the Black Canary movie, are all connected in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they all are part of a shared universe. That's true, and technically that means they are part of the shared Ben Affleck, Zack Snyder universe because he appeared as Batman in the original Suicide Squad. So, but again, that doesn't answer whether Batgirl will be involved with that. We don't know. It would be nice if it was. Except that in the Batgirl of that in this case, yeah, she is a very much. She's not a rocker like Black Canary is not a rocker like she is in Batgirl of Burnside, but she is definitely a singer.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe.
I mean, singer or rocker, like she did some riffs in there in Birds of Prey there. So I feel like she can go either way.
Yeah. And as you had mentioned earlier with Bridget Regan, I'm sure there are plenty of young women or women in our audience who thinks that she can go either way too. Anyway, that's it, folks. That's our last subject. Do you have, Lewis, a could we please, could we not?
No, I'm actually at peace with the world for this one moment.
And aside from my little rant about Disney earlier, I agree. I'll let that rant stand as my rant of my could we please or not.
I'll give you the
yeah.
Good rant.
Thank you. And folks, our upcoming show Thursday, our Full Fat Spoiler Chat will be the last of the 3 mini-series Transformers animated series, Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom. We will then have Anime Octane coming up on next Monday. Still not entirely sure whether we're going to be doing either wrapping up, because it has finished finally, the To Your Eternity, or maybe Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. So we'll have to see what the team thinks about that. Either of those two options. But it'll be one of those two things. And then, of course, Nerd Week Live next Tuesday. We will see you at one of those upcoming shows, folks. Lewis, give us a goodbye.
Well, once again, I'm really happy that you guys are all joined us in the chat. Medusa, Luminous, Mr. Grecoen, it's great to see you guys again. Had a fantastic time. I always enjoy having discussions with Rodney. We go off on tangents, but they're always wonderful tangents, and I love them. So
I'll say again, often. Sometimes, not always, often.
Often, it's all right. Potato.
There you go.
But regardless of which, next week, I look forward to seeing you guys again in the chat. And, come check out our other shows as well. As for myself, Crash the Stampede on Twitch. Lewis, I got some photos coming up. If you want to check out my Crash the Photos Facebook, I got some really good photos coming up, along with some adorable videos of some Genshin Impact cosplayers. And Rodney?
So please, if you get a chance, folks, go to patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Check out our Patreon page. And support us if you would like to. If it's something that you want to do, we just have a couple of tiers. They're both low dollar amounts. And they're basically there so that you can say, yep, Nerd Caliber, we like what you're doing. We want you to get out there to more cons, get more topics, get more videos, etc., etc. Patreon.com/nerdcaliber. We will be at Fan Expo Boston, as Lewis mentioned, this upcoming weekend, Friday through Sunday. We will be in room 051. That's the cosplay pre-judging room for the cosplay contest. If you are familiar with the BCEC at all, it is down at the showroom floor level, the bottom level, in the eastern corridor. If you're coming in from the front, the left corridor, and in the block of panel rooms that are almost all the way to the back. If you're thinking of the showroom floor, it's where the VIP entrance is. And we'll see you then. There's a map of it up on Nerd Caliber's Facebook page right now that has a little highlight that shows you where we are. If you are there in costume, come get your photos taken. If you are there not in costume, come say hi. Wear a mask, because I think you have to at that point in Boston, because there's a indoor mask mandate. But yes, we'll be wearing masks anyway. And stay safe, folks. On that, for everybody who was affected by Hurricane Ida, please stay safe. Continue to get all the help you need. And for those folks who are continuing to face its ongoing deluges, we're going to get it, I think, Thursday night is what I hear.
Please.
Just what we need. But again, and condolences for those people who did lose their lives. We'll see you at an upcoming show, folks.